Hi, I'm Marty Nemko. This essay is called Before You Become a Climate Activist. A software engineer was sitting next to me on a plane. He said he wanted to switch to environmental engineering. And here is the essence of what I said to him. To attempt to cool the planet, the world is committing trillions of dollars, for example, $50 or more each time we want to fill our gas tanks, thousands of dollars each year to heat and cool our homes, and an enviro so-called tax that is built into the price of many things we buy, which is a partial cause, at least, of our painful inflation. The human costs are even more painful. The federal government and most liberal state and local governments are allocating transportation dollars away from roads and to mass transit to drive us out of our cars. That's making us face three bad choices. We can opt for long, gridlock-larded, toll-filled commutes, which will get ever longer because new green transportation plans will tighten the noose further. A second choice is to get crammed into noisy, occasionally violent mass transit that usually takes even longer, yet rarely gets us close enough to our destination. Our third choice is to be chained to our home. For example, I have a close friend who lives just 15 miles from me, yet it would take me an hour and a half each way to get there, even on a weekend, because they're not building freeway lanes, despite the massive money the government gets, if only from the ever-increasing amount of tolls on roads, bridges, parking meters, traffic violations, car and truck registrations, gas tax, and so on. Mass transit would take much longer still. My friend is now 90. I'd like him to visit regularly, but the above makes it prohibitive. Multiply that tiny example by the billions of people's decisions to see someone, to pursue a job, or some recreation. All that is being impeded by government's multi-trillion-dollar investment in trying to cool the planet. For all that to be worth it, all of the following must be true. 1. Climate change is substantially anthropogenetic, that is, created by humans, and the consensus is 97% that that's true. 2. The 2.5 degree consensus rise in temperature is a significant net negative. Remember that some areas like Canada, Scandinavia, Russia, and parts of China would benefit from a 2.5 degree rise. More land would be livable, arable, and cost less to heat. That said, the consensus is that the 2.5 degree increase would be a net negative. Of course, that's too complex and too long-term a variable to assert with certitude. So, for purposes of this expedition, let's assume an 80% probability of that prediction being correct. 3. The world's 195 nations will remain in substantial compliance with current and likely further expanded expenditures and restrictions on individuals and industry for the 50 to 75 years that it's anticipated will be needed before a sustainable mix of energy sources is in sufficient use. The chance of that is, generously, 20%. The costs and restrictions would yield sufficient benefit before safe enough nuclear, hydrogen, fusion, or yet undiscovered technologies, in addition to current safe technologies like solar and wind, were developed and substantially implemented. No one can reasonably predict that, so let's estimate it at 50%. The punchline is that for all those trillions of dollars of investment and pain to humankind to be worth it, the joint probability has to be true. The 95% that climate change is anthropogenic times the 85% chance that the consensus projected 2.5 degree increase in temperature will be net positive, times the at most 20% probability that the world's 195 nations will remain in substantial compliance for those 50 to 75 years, times the probability that green technologies will solve before that, 50%. What is that joint probability? Less than 1%. In other words, a 99+% chance it will fail. And that doesn't count the opportunity cost, how the time, the effort, and the pain could otherwise be spent. A few examples: an all-out assault on cancer. Finally figuring out how education can live up to its promise rather than be so disappointing, for example, in closing the achievement gap, which is as wide as ever. A third example, developing gene therapy to eliminate retardation and increase altruism. Therefore, it seems wise to limit our efforts to control the climate to where there is solid data and a priori reasoning to believe that a specific intervention would yield improvement in gross world flourishing that outweighs the costs. For example, it would seem that raising CAFE standards, that is car manufacturers' average miles per gallon, would yield a good ratio of climate benefit and clean air benefit versus fiscal and human cost to people. I worried that my seatmate would push the flight attendant button and requested his seat be changed, but he said, "Wow, you've given me a lot to think about." And just maybe I've also given you something to think about, at least before you decide to become a climate activist. In any event, that essay is called Before You Become a Climate Activist. As usual, I welcome your thumbs up and accept your thumbs down. I always look forward to your comments, and especially like it if you hit the share button below. Share on your social media so that my efforts can have broader impact. And I am flattered if you choose to subscribe to my channel. And certainly would welcome you taking a look at any of my 30 books, all of which are on Amazon. Perhaps particularly relevant to this is my book, What's the Big Idea? 39 Reinventions for a Better America. Just go to Amazon, search my name, Marty Nemko, Nemko, and you will find more than you can stomach. In any event, I do thank you for watching. I am Marty Nemko.